Hi, Fabi. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit about your chess upbringing?
Yeah, it started when I was pretty young. I was around 5 years old, and I was living in New York at the time. So it started after school with other kids from the chess club. It was a very, very small club, very few players, very few kids were interested in chess, but we had good coaches. And my first two coaches, I remember from those early days as well, Bruce Pandolfini and Miran Sher, who sadly passed away a few years ago, but they were like very instrumental in my early coaching and very prominent in the New York circles. So a lot of the kids I grew up with also became very strong players. Like Robert Hess is of course a household name. He was one of my competitors when I was a kid and also one of my friends. And Mark Arnold and other players from the New York area became either very strong players or grandmasters. So it was a really good chess scene to grow up in. And of course, the Marshall Chess Club is famous as like one of the oldest chess clubs in the world and dedicated to Frank Marshall in New York. So it was really good to like grow up in that atmosphere and being able to play strong players even as a kid, to play international masters or FIDE masters or players of quite a strong level in my kind of early formative years as a chess player. So that was my upbringing. And after that, of course, I had to, at some point, make a branch between school and chess. I had to make that decision, so I made that decision pretty young. And from there, I became, maybe not professional, but started my path towards becoming a professional chess player.
How many hours would you say you were spending on chess, studying various things?
Early on, it was probably, I didn't have much incentive on my own. I liked to play, but I didn't like to study. So if we count pure study, then it was probably like 2 hours a week, just working with my coaches. I'm talking about like when I was still in school. And playing, I did play pretty much every day. Every evening after school, my dad would drive me to the Marshall Chess Club and we would play there. And then when I stopped going to school, then I was working on my own quite significantly. Those were still in the days where computers weren't too strong, so I think that was very important as well, that I got that experience of working over the board on my own. And I was very interested in it. I think if I hadn't had the interest that I developed, let's say when I was 12 until my late teenage years, then I probably wouldn't have gotten quite so strong. I don't think I would have improved so easily, but I had an interest that was very strong during those years, and that really helped me a lot because I could apply myself for hours and hours every day. So from like 12 till, let's say, until I became like a strong grandmaster, like 16, 17, I was working a few hours every day.
And when you say working, you mentioned that you had a few hours with your coaches and then you worked on your own. Was there a specific book that you remember now that has had an impact on your chess career?
Yeah, I remember a lot of books. I'm not sure which one I would say has like a very strong impact, but all of them like gave me something. And I do remember, like I worked a lot with John Watson's books when I was in like those early teenage years. And I would like go through the examples. Of course, it's hard to say now like how much of that knowledge would hold up to engine analysis, but I think just the process of working on your own is already very beneficial. Even if, let's say, all the stuff that you look at isn't correct, that's not the main part. The main part is just that you're applying yourself and you're thinking critically about chess, and that's going to lead to improvement. So definitely the material I looked at, a lot of John Watson's books, a lot of Jonathan Rowson's books, of course, Kasparov's books, and there were some old classics that I also worked with quite a lot, and with coaches, a lot of like studies. I remember when I was working with Chernin for about 2 years, he would give me like entire Palbenko studies, which would take sometimes 2 hours to fully go through and just sit there and calculate things from beginning to end. So I do remember sitting and looking at like one position for, let's say, 2 hours straight. Yeah, of course, a lot of that is like very rote work, but it really can make a difference when you're improving, especially when you're young. A lot of those ideas sink in. A lot of the like thought process that you work on sinks in during your games.
I love how you said that even if specific books don't hold up maybe to the engines these days, they still have a big impact in the development of a person. People sometimes forget about that, and it's very important to have a strong player like yourself mention those things, because working on your own, it's really something that's building up a strong understanding.
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing. 'Cause sometimes we focus on, like, you work half an hour on a position and you find out that the book was wrong. Because let's say it was written before computer times and they're going to make mistakes. And then you think this whole process was worthless. But in fact, I think that just because you were sitting there calculating is more worthwhile than whatever, like, let's say, objective value of the position was.
Of course. And you're coming in this year as the champion. Do you feel any pressure getting into this competition, considering that you have to switch from classical chess to rapid, 9LX? Do you feel any pressure for this particular event to bring back the championship?
I think normal amounts of pressure, because every year it's pretty much a toss-up, like anyone could potentially win. So I don't feel like let's say, all the pressure is on me. I think the pressure is kind of evenly split among players who all have their hopes of winning. And yeah, very often it comes down to who's just on the best form during the tournament. So, I mean, we have guys like Levon and Wesley and Lanier. And also the younger players are very promising, very dangerous. Now they're growing up a bit, so they're kind of maturing more in their chess approach. We saw like Savian was very impressive in 9LX, but also Jeffrey and Ray and all these players are very capable. So I don't feel like I have so much pressure on me compared to other players. I think everyone will be dealing with this a bit. And also the last very serious tournament I played, the World Cup, I don't think that the pressure is going to compare to that. That's a bit more, because it's like a knockout and more riding on a single game or a single move, that this pressure is probably going to be a bit more pleasant compared to that.
Well, thank you, Fabiano. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck and looking forward to seeing your games.
Thank you.